Hi everyone, how are you? Good. Gosh, that was very. Let's go. Right. Well, it's great. It's great to be with you. Thank you, Seb, for the kind introduction. Fantastic to spend a bit of time with you all. Firstly, because my mum was a pharmacist, and I grew up working in her local chemist, so I know how important the work that all of you collectively do. And I just wanted to say a massive thank you from me to all of you for everything you guys did to help get the country through the last couple of years of coronavirus. You did an absolutely stellar job. We're really proud and we're really grateful, so thanks for that. But also, and mainly, I'm here because I know things are a bit challenging right now. Like, you're at home, you're opening up these bills, and you're looking at them going, oh my God, what is going on? And I know that it's tough, and I know that it's challenging. So I wanted to let you know that I get that, and we're doing what we can to try and ease some of those challenges that you're facing with the rising cost of living. And I'm here to talk a little bit about that, and also give you the reassurance, actually, that it's going to be okay, and that we will get through this and we'll come out strong on the other side. But most importantly, I just want to hear from all of you. I want to hear what's on your mind, hear your concerns, and as Seb said, anything you want to ask, you should go for it. So economic policy, cost of living, or we can just talk about the fantastic cricket round the corner from the other weekend. That would also be good too. So with that, I'm going to open it up, and whoever wants to go, we're already going. Hi.
Hi, Chancellor. I'm Sam.
Sam, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well, thank you.
You're one of the nice people, right? Just so I know. Right, okay, good.
I try.
I'm going to ease into this.
I try. I'd really like to know your view on the impact of home working and on the impact both on the economy, but also importantly on the impact it's having on city centre shopping.
Yeah, okay, great. Right, this is dangerous, because I don't know quite what the old corporate policy is here. So actually, let me do a show of hands. So how many of you are kind of in your place of work as you were pre-coronavirus, 5 days a week or whatever it is? How many physically? Right, wow. And then I assume all the rest of you, hands up, you're doing a different type of working, are you? Hands up, yeah, everyone's doing something quite right. So majority doing something a bit different, including the boss. It's good. So I'm hopefully not going to remake corporate policy now. But look, first thing I'd say, because you asked about the government, I think that the first thing to recognize is that there is no one-size-fits-all policy, right? Every company's needs are different. Every employee, all of your needs are going to be different. And the first thing is that this ought to be a conversation that you guys are individually having with your company in the same way that that's happening across the country. And that's the right thing that we should be focused on. Now, clearly, through the pandemic, we realize that there are some different ways of doing things, and that flexibility can be both valuable to companies and can be valuable to all of us in how we're trying to manage work life and everything else. So we want to make sure that we preserve that. But look, I've got to say also that it would be sad to me if we completely lost what it felt like for us to be together in our place of work. And I love it at the Treasury when the place is getting busier now. And there's a buzz about it, and every other week I do a kind of coffee morning. It's a coffee and chocolate biscuits thing with a bunch of the junior staffers, and I get about a dozen around my table every other week to have a chat about what's going on, and we talk about this a lot. And lots of them only joined in the last 2 years, and they didn't know what it was like to come into an office, and they are loving being back, because they just get to meet people properly, but they also get to learn from some mentors. And that's a thing that was really valuable to me when I first started out in my career. I had some amazing senior people who took an interest in me. I know I wouldn't be standing here today if it wasn't for the fact that they mentored me through my career. And I think it's hard to build those kinds of relationships over Teams or Zoom. So we've got to kind of not lose that, and I hope, I'm glad that I think we won't. And also, you're right about high streets and town centres. You guys know this from your business. Those changing patterns are going to have an impact. But look, I still feel confident about that, right? And that's one of the reasons why it's nice when people are back in the office, because our town centres feel buzzy and good. But also, I think retail is innovating in the same way that offices are innovating to be attractive. What your company and others are doing is constantly doing things that attract people into your stores. And look, all of us are customers as well. And I know, like, when I want to go to my local high street, there needs to be something going on, right? It's not just about what I'm buying, it's about what else is going on. And I see that that's happening around the country. So I'm positive that we can get that right. Good. I haven't caused you any problems, Seb, have I? No. Good. Okay. On the home working thing. Right. Who's next?
It's nice to have a policy at last.
Hi, I'm Sally.
Hi, Sally.
I'd like to ask what more the government can do to help families that are struggling with the cost of living pressures, in particular around fuel and energy price rises.
Yeah, Sally, look, that is the number one question on everyone's lips right now, right? And wherever I go, that's what people want to talk to me about. And it's tough, right? I mean, we're grappling with inflation at levels that we haven't seen for a really long time. And you're right, that's being driven primarily by energy prices that are affecting not just us, but countries around the world, whether it's in Europe or America, everyone's seeing the same thing. And the scale of it is extraordinary. So the average energy bill for someone in this country this year versus last year is going to be about £1,200 higher, right? I mean, just take a step back and look at, I mean, that is just a huge amount, and that is really difficult for lots of people to deal with, almost everyone to deal with. And that's why we're trying to do what we can to ease some of that. So let me just run through a couple of the things that we're doing. We're providing this year lots of support for families to help in general, but particularly with energy bills. Now, for the most vulnerable families, that support is worth around £1,200, which you'll notice is roughly equal to the entire increase in the energy bills, to give you a sense of scale. And that's going to come through a lot of different ways. Many of you would have got 150 quid off through your council tax bills earlier this year or in the process. You're going to get £400 off, everyone is, their energy bills over the autumn and winter when the bills go up to help. And then for those groups that are a bit more vulnerable, so pensioners or those who are on benefits, the people who really need a bit of extra help, they're going to get extra cash payments over the autumn and winter, which is going to get them up to the level that I talked about. So there's a lot of support that's going to be in place to help ease some of that burden. Then we've done a couple of other things. One is we cut fuel duty, which is the bill that you all see every week, every couple of weeks you're filling up your car. And I know you're going to say, hang on, I haven't seen any of that filter through to me. And that's because energy prices have actually stayed pretty high, oil prices, but we're really focused on making sure that that gets passed on, so rest assured we're pushing on that. And then the last thing is, all of you guys here are working. In just a few weeks' time, you are getting a tax cut, right? That's Q, big cheer, tax cut, right, there we go. Right, so in July, what we're doing is we're raising something called the National Insurance Primary Threshold to £12,500. And what that will mean is, on the first £12,500 that you earn, you won't pay a penny of income tax or national insurance. Now that's worth about £330 for 30 million people in work across the country, and just make sure that work always pays. I know it's, you're out there working hard. That'll put more money in your pocket starting in July, and that will also help as well. So look, hopefully that gives you some reassurance that there's some support in place. But look, it's going to be challenging for a while, but we'll get through it, and we're making sure we look after the people who really need our help the most through the next few months. Right, good. Right, who's next? Yes, sir.
Hi, Chancellor. I'm Matt, and I work in the pharmacy team.
Brilliant. Nice to see you.
Pharmacies like Boots would love to do more to support the NHS to relieve pressure on primary care and also the wider health system. We saw the announcement yesterday from the NHS around cancer referrals from community pharmacy. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what other services community pharmacies could do in the future in their community.
I promise.
This is the planted question.
I didn't plant this question. I promise.
No, that's great. It's great. Look, so I talk about, look, my mum was a pharmacist, and I grew up, my main job growing up, I worked in the dispensary with her, and then I also did all her books and VAT returns and accounts and payroll and everything. That's what I did growing up. We had, she owned her own pharmacy. Our life was built around that. My dad's also a GP. So I saw both of it, right? And his surgery, her pharmacy, down the road from each other. And I enjoyed watching that kind of tension between the two parts of primary care. And so I'm a massive fan of pharmacies, right? My dad's not here, so I can say that. But I think that pharmacies can do an enormous amount. And even when I was working, my mum was trying to add more services. And I remember when she got a contract to do oxygen. And back then, that was a big deal that local pharmacy could do oxygen. And then we were doing more in care homes. And actually, I don't know if you still do this. Do you still have that MDS system? So for the care, no, that moved on many decades ago. Fine, all right, fine. Anyway, so and I was doing, it was great, right? And I saw the trust more than anything. I saw the trust people had when they came into the pharmacy, because they saw my mum more often than they saw my dad. And if there was something quick and simple, they would come in and try and talk to my mum about it, and that was just easier and simpler for them, and she'd be able to help them. And so I'm delighted, and you guys actually should be really proud. Like, you as a company and Seb played a big part in getting this cancer announcement over the line in the last few days. That demonstrates the power of what pharmacy can do, and there is more that you can do. Whether it's vaccinations, whether it's minor ailments, which we were just talking about, all the other things, diabetes management. There's lots of areas where kind of obviously pharmacy could play a bigger role. Now, the challenge for us in government and in the NHS and Department for Health is to say, look, we need to look at this a bit differently, right? We used to kind of have GPs over here, pharmacies here, hospitals here. How do we look a little bit more joined up and holistically at just healthcare and figure out how do we deliver the best, quickest, most effective healthcare to people? And when we shouldn't start with who, we could just start with what we're trying to achieve. And actually, if you guys are the best way to do that, let's find a way to make that happen. So I'm very firmly in the pharmacy camp. And please tell my mum if you bump into her that I was pro that today. Right. I don't know if are we doing questions from upstairs as well, or are we just down here, just so I don't miss anyone? We're just down here, so right, sorry. But I mean, shout out though. I mean, I'm open. So
anyone who wants to.
Yeah.
You can't get a microphone up there.
Right. Okay. We've got a lady in the front here.
Hi, my name's Colette. You talked about your parents and the pharmacy, so why on earth did you become a politician?
Oh yeah, they're clapping now, right? I don't know whether you're clapping because like we wish you hadn't become a politician. But,
I did plant that one.
Yeah,
sorry.
Actually, they are the reason. Fun enough, they are the reason that I became a politician. And so, I grew up in Southampton. That's where I'm from. And my mum and dad did the same thing in the same place for decades, right? And the reason I became a politician is because I saw the impact they had on our local community. And I was in the shop, or I was out delivering medicines at the end of the day to all the elderly patients who couldn't come in and pick them up, or would just be out shopping at the weekend, and people would just constantly come up to me or to them and say something nice. And if I was dropping off medicines at their house, the prescription, they'd say, oh, you're Mrs. Sunak's son, you're Dr. Sunak's son. And then they would proceed to tell me something really lovely about what my mum and dad had done for them, their parents, grandparents, kids. And I thought it was amazing that they, just as individuals, could have that impact on the community around them. And it was inspiring to me. And medicine is not quite my thing, but as a local MP, I believe I can try and have the same impact. And that was my motivation for actually getting into politics. It was less about having this job that you guys know me and you see me on the telly doing. It's about being a local MP and trying to be like my mum and dad in my constituency in North Yorkshire. And it's a bit of the job I find the most fulfilling in a sense. And I'm really glad I did it. And they are my kind of inspiration for what I'm trying to do there. And hopefully I am making that same difference in a different way in my community as they did in ours growing up. Yeah. Right, sir, here, yes. There we go. Sorry.
Right, my name's Brian. I work in the local warehouse here.
What was your name, sorry?
Brian.
Brian, hi.
Right, you spoke about levelling up.
Yeah.
What does that mean to me on 20 grand a year and my partner who's on minimum wage on the NHS?
Yeah, well, brilliant question, Brian. So, you hear this slow. Well, it's great that you've got the fact that levelling up is a thing, right? Because most of the time, what we say, people don't kind of register. So I'm really delighted that you've kind of got that this government cares about levelling up. So next question, what does that mean for me? If I was going to sum it up in a sentence, what does levelling up mean? To me, it means that wherever you happen to grow up in our country, that you've got fantastic opportunity. And secondly, that you feel enormous pride in the place that you call home, right? So that's my kind of one-sentence definition of levelling up. So, how do you go about creating pride in a place that you call home? It's about having great town centres and high streets, and that, I think, was Sam's question right at the beginning. And so we're investing actually around here, whether it's Nottingham in all the street clean-up that you're seeing, or the other towns actually around here. Long Eaton, I think, is one of them as well, which is getting kind of 20 million quid to improve the town centres, high streets, and we're doing that up and down the country, right? We're improving transport connectivity, investing in youth clubs, and all those things that just make our communities feel like brilliant places to live. But the first part is is about opportunity, right? For you and your partner, what are we doing to kind of help show that we're on your side and we're supporting you? So earning what you earn, in July, you're going to start getting a £330 tax cut. And I think that hopefully make a difference to you with some of the bills that we're seeing. Your partner on the national living wage, yes, there's inflation, and I know that's tough, but it's really important to us that we keep increasing the national living wage. So this year it's gone up by 6.6%, which is pretty solid amount to £9.50, and that's probably worth about an extra grand. And then you've got the tax cut coming on top of that. So that's really about helping put more money in your pockets to help you ease some of the burdens that you're seeing. But then also what we want to do is, look, I want to work with Seb and your company and others, and to make sure that for you and your partner, if you want to think about, well, if I want to get a different job, if I want to learn something new, that we are talking to each other and figuring out how can we jointly support you and your partner, right? And that's a mix of me chipping in something, your company chipping in something, and saying, look, if you want to go and try and train to get the next job in the warehouse or run the team, are we giving you all the backing that you need to succeed and do that? And if you're willing to put in the hard work, like I want to be right there behind you with Seb, supporting you so that you can build that better life for yourselves. Look, and that's not going to happen overnight, and there's lots of things I could go into that we're doing, and afterwards come and grab me, but that's the kind of vision that I've got that I'm trying to build for you and your partner. Does that sound all right? Yeah? Sorry? Oh, good. I'm happy to hear that. Good. Right. Okay. Right. Where are we next? No, I'm just going to ask. I don't want to exclude you guys. Any questions from this second row? Right. It's a bit like being at a spin class when the instructor kind of shouts second row. Right. So nobody in the mid-tier. No questions here. Right. Oh yes. Right. Okay. We'll go back down here. Right.
Hi, Chancellor. I'm Peter.
Peter. Hi.
Hi.
That's a great shirt, by the way.
Great,
thank you.
That's
good. Not a single other person in this room is wearing a tie, as far as I can tell, by the way. Thank you for the memo on the dress code. But anyway, right.
It was a quick change about an hour ago, because I cycle into work every day, and I'm a passionate cyclist. And I think that cycling and similar physical activities are just fundamental for mental and physical health. I'd like your personal view on that, and also from a ministerial point of view, what you think the government could do more, and companies like ours, to get people out of cars and doing something a bit more healthy.
Right. Well, actually, it's good that you asked this, right? So this morning, and my team will get upset that I'm saying this now. So I was at a spin class this morning, actually. So you cycled to work, I cycled and did my spin class early this morning. Because I agree with you, actually. It's really good for me. I love it, right? It just kind of, I'm not like you outside. I'm inside with the music pumping and all that, trying to keep up with all the various dance moves that they do in my class. But it's great. It clears my head, and it's good for all of us, and more people are doing it, so we need to make sure that we support that change. So actually, funnily, I talked about the investment, actually, to Brian's question, investing in making our places nicer places to live. So there's something we have that you won't have heard of. It's called the Transforming Cities Fund, and Derby and Nottingham got a big chunk of money to help improve transport infrastructure in your area. And one of the things that we funded is, and I think it's about 10 million quid, is to create a brand new or hugely improved cycle lane between Derby, Nottingham, and I think East Midlands Parkway. And I'll go and check. You should be able to check that online. That I have not made that up, and I'm fairly certain I haven't. And I think we are funding that and we're doing things like that all over the country. But that's right here that hopefully you can benefit from. And then more broadly, actually, there's another scheme we have. Sorry if this gets me in trouble with your boss. We have a scheme where we provide some kind of tax relief for people. Okay, I'm seeing some nodding. Okay, do they offer it here? Do you guys have it? Yeah, great. Okay, so we have some various tax relief schemes for companies that give loans and things for people to get bikes and things like that that not everyone knows about, but there's some nodding here, which is really good news. So you guys do it, which is great. So look, there you go. So I'm with you. Less outside, more in the for me, but for you, we're building all the cycle highways, and it's good for our carbon reduction, which we're trying to get to over time. But as you said, it's also just good for our mental health, our physical health, and takes cars off the road. So that's great. Although I'll be totally honest, so I probably shouldn't, as long as everyone's obeying the rules, because I do have this pet peeve about the cyclists that are not quite obeying. So, seeing as we're all here, okay, clapping, there we go, right, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not
You've
alone.
lost me now.
Yeah, fine. No, so I'm sure you're great, right? I'm sure you do it. But that does bother me. So I wouldn't have been honest to myself if I didn't just get that bit in. So I'm pro-cycling with that bit of caveat at the end. Right, okay. Right, I'm getting in trouble. Right, okay, yes, miss. We've got two, yes, lady at the back first, and then in front of you.
It's Nor from the pharmacy team again. Just a question, we speak about the potential that we can work together in pharmacy and what more can pharmacy help, the wider healthcare. How can we work together with the government to make pharmacy a more attractive career to young people? We know we've got shortage in the workforce, so what can we do together to support us?
Okay. I wasn't aware of that. So that's news to me. I loved it, right? So I complained to my mum because she trained me as a dispensing assistant, but then I never ended up doing the qualifications, which really bugged me because I would have liked to have had them. I mean, I absolutely loved it. So, we should take that away and figure out what we can do because it's a great job. And the thing that I loved about it was a bit that I was talking about earlier, because you are there making an enormous difference to people every 5 seconds who come into your pharmacy, and whether you're a dispensing assistant working behind the counter, you have a kind of it's a more emotional, personal connection with your customers than you get in many other businesses. So I found it really fulfilling and rewarding, and you're particularly when you're helping kind of those who are more vulnerable in our society. So we need to shout loudly about that. And I think actually because of the technology. Now I realise you don't use any of the old systems that I was trained on, but all that I see. Actually, my uncle's still a pharmacist and all the rest of it. My cousin, so they have all these robotics and things now in their dispensary that I remember counting pills in either in a machine that was good, and then I used to do that triangle thing. Is there anyone here that remembers those triangles? Right, some nodding. Right, okay. Definitely not, thankfully not the oldest person here. So actually that innovation that's happening in pharmacy ought to be really attractive to people, and especially if we get this right and get pharmacies doing more. So let me take that away, and we should work on that, because it's a great career, and and it's a good, well-paying job, so we should actually shout loudly about it. Right, there was a lady in front of you, I think. Yes, ma'am, hi.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm
Hi,
asking
Jenny.
the question regarding the working class. We work hard, we pay tax. However, we find it difficult to climb up the property ladder. For example, in Nottingham, the two-bedroom is £200,000. Help to Buy doesn't really help because it's going to be end, and the government help only £3,000. But the government right now just proposed that the people living in the council house getting the universal credit got the help from the government to climb up their ladder. So is the government ignoring the working class as a whole?
Yeah, Jenny, really, I'm so glad you asked the question. And it's such an important thing. And we talked about levelling up and pride and community. And a lot of that comes with owning your own home, right? And being able to do that. And I'm going to have a show of hands. Who here doesn't own their own home yet? Right? Yeah, and who here doesn't want to ever own their own home, right? Nobody, right? We all want to own a home, right? It's a really special, important thing, and it's so central to building your family around and having a stake in your community. So we want to support that aspiration, but it's been challenging, right? I'm going to be honest with you. It's been challenging because what's happened over the past few decades is in the country we just haven't built enough homes, and that's something that we are in the process of fixing, but it doesn't happen overnight, and we're trying to use all the brownfield land we can get so to reduce the pressure on on green spaces. So we're going to try and do that first, try new planning approaches to just get more homes built. Then we're spending a lot of money on more affordable housing, and so bit by bit that should make available more homes that are affordable, not just to rent, which was what always the priority used to be. We're also saying, hang on, when we subsidise the building of these affordable homes with housing associations and others, we want to make some of those available for people to buy as well, right? And that is a change that we've made that, again, not overnight, but bit by bit, more supply will come online. And then the other thing we're trying to do is on mortgages. And you're right, we had Help to Buy, and that scheme is ending. But we've tried to really stimulate the 95% mortgage market. And the reason that we've done that is lots of people, and you're probably in this category, are saying, look, I'm working hard, I'm earning a decent amount, and I can cover the mortgage, but I don't have the money for the deposit. It's been hard to save that much for a deposit. Again, I can see lots of nodding, which is great, right? I mean, not great, but good that we've got the problem right. And that's why the 95% mortgage really helps, because it just reduces the amount of deposit that you need to save for. And we created a government scheme last year, which meant now if you go out to your bank or building society, there should be lots of 95% mortgages available. And then the last thing I'd let you know is we have something called the Help to Buy Icer. And that means if you put some money away in the special savings account, the government will top it up. So, you know, for every, I haven't got the exact numbers in my head, but you can get a few £1,000s from the government. And then if you're, well, it will help you. I think it was calculated so that if there was, it was kind of roughly calculated on the basis that if there was a couple saving over a period of time, it would help them get to about 25 grand with a few £1,000s just extra free contribution from the government to help get you to that deposit amount. Look, I'm not saying this is easy. I totally get what you're saying. But those are some of the things that we've got in place that might ease the difference. And in the medium term, what we've got to do is just build more homes and build more affordable homes. And some of the laws and the legislation that we're currently taking through Parliament is going to help with that. But you're absolutely right to highlight it. And I don't want you to think for 1 second that we're not trying to figure out how to help exactly someone like you fulfill that dream of owning your home, right? I want everyone to own their home. It's a brilliant and wonderful thing.
We've got time for 2 more.
2 more, right, I'm being waved at, okay. Right, I feel bad because like there's so many in, right. Okay, cheap seats, right. That was him saying that, not me, just so we're clear. Right, okay, sir. Wait, there we go.
I wanted to bring you back to the workforce question. We just really are struggling with our workforce. Qualified professionals, getting them into the sector, you know, optometrists leaving, going to do other things, just like pharmacists, is a real challenge to actually just open our stores every day in many instances, but also just getting people to come and work for us. You know, we're in quite a skill-driven business, both in our pharmacy business and opticians. And it's just such a challenge to recruit our workforce at the moment. So I'd like to know what you're doing to support us with workforce challenges.
Yeah, no, that's, well, first of all, I'm glad you stop at red lights, so thank you for that. Good. And as a lifelong wearer of glasses and contacts, thank you for what you do as well. So, look, it's the number one thing I hear from businesses, right? So everywhere I go, the number one challenge I hear from business leaders is about access to talent, right, of all levels, actually. So we're doing a couple of things. We are trying to move 500,000 people off welfare into work in the first instance. And what happened over the pandemic is, for various reasons, the number of people claiming unemployment benefit went up a lot, and it was just hard to do all the normal things that we do in our job centres to support them into work because of the pandemic. And now that we're out on the other side, we've really gone back to focusing on that and getting everyone in, having those weekly interviews with a work coach and saying, look, you know what, we've got many vacancies in the economy and it's good for you because if you move off welfare into work, you're going to be £6,000 a year better off. So let's support you to do that. And the numbers are now coming down and that's great, right? And that was helping with lots of roles across the economy, and that's the right thing for us to do because when the economy's crying out for workers, we can't have people claiming unemployment benefit. That's not a sensible use of anyone's time or money, and it's not good for those individuals not to be in work, because work is a wonderful thing that gives you purpose, it gives you dignity. So that's what we're doing there, and that we're in process of that. Now, as you move higher up on the skills side, that goes back to what I was saying before. Look, there's 2 levers. One is we've got to upskill the people that we've got, right? So have we got the various government funding, employee incentives, apprenticeship programs, etc., that provide people with those mid-career reskilling, upskilling options? And I won't go into the long list of things now, and I'm not quite sure on optometry where that would sit, but just rest assured, we're throwing more at that than anyone's ever done. We've got lots of different ways that people can now upskill in their career, so that will help with a lot of these things. And we're looking to do more. So in the autumn, I'll announce some more things on training and how we can support that. And then the last thing is obviously migration, right? And that is the last That's the last thing. And look, this is a let's be honest about this and have a conversation, right? You know, we had a referendum. You know, there was a lot of, everyone thought, look, the idea that we don't know who's coming here at all and have no control over it whatsoever is not something that actually commands a lot of support. So we've stopped that, and now at least we when people are coming here, we know why they're here and what they're coming here to do. But that allows us to be more flexible in trying to think, well, actually, if we've got clear industries and shortages, should we be more open to accepting people at skill levels from abroad? And that's what you're actually seeing. So, we're announcing really exciting visas for people who are really talented to come to the UK from anywhere in the world to come and set up a business or grow their business or just be here. And I think now that we've got kind of past, we got past Brexit, we had that debate, people know we're in control. That's actually the thing that they wanted us to have, was control. But where the economy or the country needs people, people are very open and accepting of having those people in. And we're trying to work through those and look at different industries. And that's what we've been doing. And I'm sure that's something that Seb will talk to us about as well if there's a need in the future. I hope that's kind of clear answer on the different things. Yeah, it's a really good question. And it's not just us. It's the US and other countries are all facing the same challenge at the moment. And the other thing, actually, sorry, long answer. We've got quite a few elderly people who have left the workforce. And be interested, actually, I should get your perspective on this because, you see probably more of them than others. We're putting a lot of thinking in, how do we attract all these people back to work for those that might be interested in coming back to work? And does it mean that they want more part-time jobs or something flexible? What is it we could do? Because that would help ease a lot of the shortages and constraints we're seeing if we could figure out how to do that. So that's something that's on my mind as well.
Last one, please.
Last one. Right, here we go. No pressure, sir.
Don't worry, I'm in the pharmacy team, so we deal with pressure every day. So I thought I'd just probably add one around pharmacy services, so around VAT exemption. So clearly we have a brand new service, hypertension service, which is fantastic. And you talk about skill mix and the workforce issues. So I thought we are working with yourselves and HMRC, etc., on VAT exemption so we can get non-pharmacists involved. So I thought, let's hear from yourself while you're here today. Are we going to get this sorted, or what do you think?
Gosh, this is a pretty technical question. That's what I grew up doing. I did my mum's VAT returns, and I had this amazing green Simplex D VAT book that my grandfather, who was an HMRC tax inspector, kind of taught me how to do all the VAT returns, so we did them properly. And it's very complicated. You'll know this, right? Because pharmacies are in this odd place with input and output VAT. Sorry, this is getting very niche, so let's move on. The reason I can't get into it in too much detail because it's a live conversation on tax policy, but there's actually a meeting going on, I think next week from memory, between your trade association and HMRC to kind of work through the issue that you're talking about and take some ideas from you and hear from HMRC. And so I'm sorry I can't get into it in many more detail than that, but rest assured that they're on it and your people are talking to my people and they're doing that next week. Good.
Chancellor,
right.
Thank you very, very much. It's been brilliant to have Rishi Sunak here to answer your questions so openly and honestly and frankly, and I'm very grateful to you. It's kind of fun, Thank you.
Well, it's good.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That's great. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you. All right. So, I got to wander off and do some more things. I have to say, it was a great pleasure to spend some time with you guys. You were great. I think we covered a lot of good stuff. Thank you for being so open and honest, and hopefully you had a good time too. Although I am disappointed, there was not a single cricket question. And, however many miles from Trent Bridge we are, but in any case. But great pleasure. And I meant what I said right at the beginning. I know it as I grew up. What you guys do is super, super important. It makes an enormous difference to millions of people up and down the country. And they trust you to be there for them, and you were. So thank you very much indeed. Take care. Bye-bye.